gone on further than that in your studies of biology, but you know that if someone talks about a person's eye, they're not just talking about a simple ball. In fact, you find out that the eye is oblong in some ways, not actually a perfect sphere. And then you find out why it's a little bit oblong. And then you find out that there's an ocular nerve, and there's this, and there's that, and there's mucus, and there's tissue, and there's soft tissue, and there are lenses. And these lenses actually move. And there's the iris and all the many parts. And there's probably even parts of the eye that people still don't even understand. But the eye is so intricate. Take, for example, your ear. It's not just a cone that sticks on the side of your head. Boy, we would look awfully silly if that was the way it was. But it is shaped just so that it brings in sound waves. And those sound waves beat off of drums and hammers and all kinds of things that we have named them. Inner ear, outer ear. Not just a piece of flesh slapped on the side of your head, but with a purpose. And why are there two and not three? Why are there two and not just one? Do you know the importance of your feet and your toes? And if you didn't have a big toe, that you would kind of be off balance in your walking? A purpose, a design. Each part of us was designed with specificity and detail and intricacy that can never be replicated by man perfectly. When you look at a rose, you don't just see the color. If you really look at that rose, you begin to see the layers of the petals and the stamen and the stems and the outer leaves and the inner leaves and all the other parts. And then if you really look closer, you actually find that there's like veins in there that transport the nutrients for that flower. And yet we're supposed to believe that all of these things were accidental, spontaneous, and somehow created like a poof in the air, or spontaneously combusted, and everything just happened to fall in place. All the stars, all the moons, the suns, the planets, they just burst on the scene and just happened to hang right at the certain distances that they hang from the sun and from each other. Their moons circle the planets at a precise distance, but all of that was by accident. And so I would encourage you to examine and explore the many different scriptures that display God's attention to detail, God's purposeful design. And as you can see then that the design is different from the decoration. As we spoke of last night, when something is designed, it is planned for a particular purpose, it is measured, it is detailed, it is constructed of certain materials, it is thought out, it is usually the original of that particular item. Like any house, although all houses sometimes appear to be the same and they often have some of the same elements, every house is different. And each house being different has to have different details, different measurements, different materials, and different ways in which they were put together, because while they all have the purpose of housing people, they still have to meet the particular requirements of that particular lot that they're sitting on, in that particular city, environment, and atmosphere, the weather. All of those things have to be taken into consideration. Well, in that design, all of those many aspects are involved. If you've ever bought a home from brand new and you've had it built, and you were taking part in the construction of that home, my goodness, the details would just boggle your mind. Not only whether we use a 2x4 or a 1x2 or a 2x6 or a 2x12 by 12, for different beams. Not only do we have to decide on those, but somebody's got to figure out how many nails there has to be. Somebody has to figure out if there's going to be a foundation, how much cement. How is that cement going to be laid? Will it be a monolithic foundation, or would it be a piered foundation? And if it's piered, how many piers are there going to be? And if there are going to be piers, and how many piers there are going to be, and at what distance are those piers going to be? So there's all kinds of engineering. All that stuff goes into play. And then you might have somebody say, well, can I put a window over here? And the builder might say, well, yeah, you can put a window there, but the requirements of code say that we have to have so much window space and so much wall space so that the air conditioner or the heater can run efficiently. And you're thinking to yourself, what does that have to do with, I just want a window over here? Well, there's so many details involved in that. Moving a door, moving a window, closing up part of the wall, opening another part of the wall. What kind of flooring? What color of the flooring? What is going to be the purpose of the flooring? Is the purpose going to be in a place that is wet, or is it going to be dry? Just an immense number of details that go into just the beginning outer shell of this house. Not to mention, whether there's going to be 1 story or 2 stories or 1 bathroom or 3 bathrooms or 5 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms and 2 kitchens and one. You can just see. And every room has the same amount of detail, immensely, for just one simple room. Even a powder room, a small bathroom, still has to have plumbing, electricity, walls, floor, coverings, doors, windows, all the venting. Not just one, but so many details. The design dictates the purpose, and the plan that is executed determines how well it turns out. And if you can think that about a house, which to God would be a totally simple structure compared to the ark, right? That's going to carry all these animals, all these people, and it's got and by the way, it's also got to float for 40 days. Just so many details, so much that is involved in the design that far exceeds any amount of decorating. If you're a woman or an artist or a performer, when you decorate yourself, you're going to put on makeup. But you're putting that makeup on to something that is already in existence. Your face is already there. The contours of your face have already been determined. The measures of your face, the materials, the skin, the blood, all of that is already determined. Now you're just decorating. You're just embellishing. So you put on the makeup. If you're an artist, an actor, a showman, show person of some sort, a clown, for example. When we get dressed, we are decorating. We're not creating our bodies. We're decorating the body. We're putting on various coverings depending on, the weather, temperature, our likes and dislikes, who we'd like to attract, and who we, whether we're pleasing ourselves or trying to please someone else. But it's decorating. It's decoration onto something that was already created, our bodies. It was already designed for a purpose. And as I spoke of before on last evening, decorators primarily are doing that. They are embellishing what is already there. Rarely does a decorator come in and move a wall, move a window, close a door. They're just embellishing. So when we think about what is our purpose, how we can ask, how were we designed? We were designed with 2 legs, 2 arms, 10 fingers, phalanges, 10 toes, digits. We have a heart, we have lungs. How were we designed and what we were designed for? And every organ in our bodies are intricately designed. There's not just a heart, but the heart has 2 chambers, and then there's ventricles, and then there's vessels, and there's veins, and there's all these other things, but have to all function together. Why were we designed to walk and talk and think and feel? Why were we designed in the way that we were designed? What was the purpose for our creation? God, as you can see, didn't just design things, people, places, arcs, just for the sake of it, just for because he didn't have anything else to do, just because he was bored. Our design was purposed. Our legs are purpose, our heart is purpose, our eyes are purpose, our ears are purpose, our hands are purpose. Even though we don't understand all of the animals and plants and chemicals in the earth and in the air, they're all designed with a purpose. We may not understand what their purposes are, but they have a purpose. Many times we can even think to ourselves. I was happened to be sitting out in my garage the other day, and I saw this little creature, and it looked like maybe it was an ant that was carrying a lot of stuff on its back. I don't know, dirt, leaves, whatever. But it looked like just a glob, and it was determined to go somewhere, and it was going. And I sat there and I was musing at the fact that we often, especially those of us who don't particularly like pests, ants, roaches, all those things. We want to get rid of them. We sometimes, we're disturbed by them, but they all have a purpose. And as you were learning in school, every animal supports some part of the ecosystem. And even today, there are animals and insects and bugs and all kinds of things that we don't have a clue as to why is there a slug, for example. Have you ever noticed how slugs just sit there? I mean, they basically don't seem to be, they're the slowest. A banana slug in particular is like the slowest animal, an insect, grant you, not animal like in a sloth, right? But a banana slug, it takes forever just to go a few inches. Why on earth is this thing there? Well, there's a purpose. We may not understand it, but that slug was designed with a purpose to fulfill a certain activity, and a slug would not be a slug if he did not do, or she, I guess if there's a he or she, did not do what it was purposed for. And imagine if every creation suddenly stopped doing and being what they were created to do and be.